Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name's Bob, I'll be your host. When you think of undead, one of the things that usually come to mind is zombies. Zombies are a very popular type of undead. When they show up, they're also a very large group of undead, usually. Now, it can be very fun to include zombies in your role-playing game. And there is lots of places to take inspiration for a zombie game, such as movies being the most popular and easy to come by. And there are countless numbers of zombie movies out there, each one having a different take on the whole zombie apocalypse, different ways to become infected with the zombie virus, and different ways to take the zombies out. Romero's zombie movies are a good guideline. You can also go with the Return of the Living Dead series, which isn't a whole world-wide zombie outbreak. It's more of a contained area inside a town. And plus, the zombies act differently and have to be killed in a different way than in Romero's. There's all kinds of ways you can go, all kinds of movies you can look into. There are also comic books that you can take inspiration from. The most famous of these, of course, being The Walking Dead. And then there was Marvel's whole zombie Marvel universe. There's also a series put out by Dark Horse Comics years ago called Zombie World, or Dead World, I'm sorry. And it was pretty cool. There are also novels that you can get. There's World War Z, which is an excellent novel. The movie of that novel should have been called something else entirely, because the only thing that's the same in the novel and the movie is the guy's name and their zombies. The book is much better. If you get the chance, I highly recommend that book. But other than that, there's a series called Zombie, and it's zombie spelled with an X instead of a Z. And it's pretty good. The first two books in the series is really good. I've read those. I haven't read anything further in the series, but I've heard that the later books weren't as good. But I still plan to read them at some point. But at any rate, zombies cross pretty much all genres. You can find them in science fiction. You can find them in comedy. You can find them in, weirdly enough, romance. You can find them in drama. And of course, they're all over horror. Today, we're going to talk about some games that you can easily include zombies in for your tabletop role-playing game. We're going to get started with some honorable mentions. Of course, any game you play, you can add zombies to. It doesn't matter what the game is, what the rules set are. Zombies can be included in just about everything. But I'm going to talk in my honorable mentions about a few that are more catering to zombies in a way. They're not about zombies, but they fit better in it. And we're going to start with one that I should have included in my main list, but I put it in this honorable mention instead. And that is, of course, generic rule sets. Stuff like GURPS, the Master Book, the D6 system, and stuff like Savage Worlds are the total party skills rule sets. Just generic games that you can build a zombie game out of. And those are always pretty cool. You can do a lot with those. Next thing is Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons, there are several types of monsters that can be found in the different monster manuals and so forth that you could add to your zombie game set in the Dungeons and Dragons. And just not Dungeons and Dragons, but any type of clone or so forth of Dungeons and Dragons, such as Pathfinder or anything out of the OSR, like basic fantasy roleplay, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and so forth. You can add zombies into them. I've even gotten a story I'm working on for Dungeon Crawl Classics to do a funnel revolving in the character's village getting attacked by a zombie horde. So that ought to be nifty. And those are my honorable mentions. Not very many this time. Just a few. They'd make more sense in that than, say, Star Wars. However, I have run a zombie scenario in Star Wars, but that's a story for another time. Now we're going to get into our list proper. 5 games to play your zombie apocalypse. The first book we're going to talk about is The End of the World Zombie Apocalypse. Now, this comes from a set of books where all in dealing with the apocalypse. There are 4 books in this series, and each one deals with a different type of apocalypse. This one just happens to deal with the zombie apocalypse. In this game, you make up a character of yourself. Not a fictitious version of yourself, but yourself nonetheless. And you make up the character and work out how you would do things in the zombie apocalypse as it unfolds. And there's rules in here to run the game as a long-term campaign. And if you get yourself killed, rules to make up a new character that's not you, so you can keep playing with your friends even though you died. Or if you don't want to play yourself, you can use those rules to make up a fictitious character to play in the zombie apocalypse. But it's a pretty neat game, but I'm not that into playing games of myself. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the World of Darkness. Now, the World of Darkness, it has lots of creatures run around it, such as vampires, werewolves, mages, and so forth. And in this core book, they talk about a lot about ghosts. So you can run your humans investigating ghosts. But there is a supplement for this game. Antagonists. Now, if you get this with your World of Darkness book, it gives you lots of different creatures that you can add to your game for your players to interact with and stuff. One of which is zombies. It gives you some rules to build your own zombies for your World of Darkness game and have your own little zombie apocalypse. Now, it suggests in this book that you don't make it a world devastating thing, that you make it more of a localized thing, kind of like what you would have seen in Return of the Living Dead. So that's pretty cool. The next thing we're going to talk about, All Flesh Must Be Eaten. This is a cool game. There is a newer version than this one, a revised version, which actually gives you rules to use it in the D20 system, but I don't have that one. But this book gives you all the rules you need to play a character in a zombie apocalypse. It gives you rules to build all kinds of different zombies for whatever type of scenario you want to run, ways to dispatch them, ways they can kill you. It gives you some scenarios that you can play in, some campaign ideas called Worlds in Hell. And it's a very good book. I would really recommend this one. I've had a lot of fun with it. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Zombie Hack. This is a very small book, but it's got all the rules you need for playing it in a zombie apocalypse. It is pretty neat. It's kind of an old school game using a modified version of the Black Hack and stuff, but it has all the rules you need, even though it's a very, very small book. And finally, we're going to go to Palladium with Dead Rain. This is a cool zombie book. It uses the Palladium system, so if you like Palladium and want to do a zombie scenario, this would be cool. Plus, since it's Palladium, you can bring this over into any other Palladium game that you want, that you're running, such as Rifts, Palladium Fantasy, even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you want to go that route. But it's got different types of characters that you can play. It's even got a half zombie, half human type character that you can play. So if you want your character to be kind of zombie-ish, this has got you covered. And those are just 5 books and more that you could run your zombie apocalypse in. There's a lot more, but I figured we'd keep it small. So thank you for joining me at a look at these books, and hopefully you'll join me next time where we'll talk about something else. Bye.